After a long wait of more than 2 years, Das Finale Part 4 is finally here. And while it's too soon to get into the minute details of this action-packed experience, I definitely have some initial thoughts, and we'll get into those today. This week's video is brought to you by my upcoming original manga Amaranth Angels, cute anime girls, starfighters, and exciting space battles, written by a Girls and Panzer fan, for other Girls and Panzer, and military moe in general fans. So I look forward to my contribution to the genre later this year. Now, on to the video. Well, it's been a long time coming, but about a week and a half ago now, I finally got to watch Das Finale Part 4. And yes, I have watched it again since. I'll of course do some more detailed analyses on it eventually, but for now I'm just going to go into my initial thoughts as a sort of brief, spoiler-free review. Apologies if this seems a bit rambly. I don't do a ton of review-style videos, so I don't have a pre-established format. Also, if I sound a bit off, that's because I came down with a cold the day I planned to record, but I decided to push through it anyway to get this video out to you guys. Also, for purposes of avoiding spoilers, I'll be using primarily still images, since there's a lot that you really ought to experience for the first time while properly watching it. Though of course you won't be surprised at all to hear up front that I loved it. But anyway, let's get into it. The best way to succinctly summarize my thoughts on Das Finale Part 4 is that it was basically everything I was expecting, and basically everything I'd hoped for. It was such a blast to watch, a real experience, where you can't look away even for a moment. I can only imagine how awesome a time must have been to watch this at one of those 4D theaters with moving seats over in Japan, especially for that first battle. So to give this video a little structure, I'll divide it into some sections. Though some will get much more time than others, since this Das Finale part was extremely action heavy, and it'll be hard to say a lot about some of the other aspects without giving away too much. Especially considering how recently this became available to watch outside of Japan, I really want to be careful not to give anything away. Since as I mentioned already, this is the kind of thing you really want to watch blind the first time. So, speaking of the action, that seems like a good place to start. I think it's safe to say that the action here is some of the most impressive in the series thus far, if not the most impressive. Certainly it's the fastest paced, especially during the Ori vs. Keizoku battle, and extremely creative. It probably helps that, to the best of my knowledge, there never was a true historical tank battle fought on a sort of ski slope like this, which gave the director and the rest of the creative staff a lot of room to play around without having to worry about being directly compared to something real, at least not too much. The blending of 2D and 3D elements in these scenes is also just done so well, and you can really see how far we've come since Season 1, where I still felt the integration was very good, but it's still a night and day difference at this point compared to that. Here, from a layman's point of view at least, it's a seamless blend, and a shining example of how anime can use 3D assets alongside 2D animated characters and settings, etc., without it looking distracting or otherwise fake and out of place. If this alone is the reason it takes so long to produce each part of Das Finale, it's worth it. I also like to imagine that, at least for this battle, the creative team had a literal mock-up of the slope and tank models, which they moved around on it by hand to choreograph the battle before doing storyboards. Another awesome thing about the battles in this episode is that we get more time spent with characters other than the ones we know well by now. This is especially true for Ori, seeing as Anglerfish team, and thus our primary characters since the start of the series, got knocked out of the fight back at the end of Part 3. So that's not a spoiler, by the way. And without giving away any details, it was great seeing the others, especially Rabbit Team, Shark Team, and Mallard Team, really step up in a big way. It really just shows how far they've all come since the start. And even with the other schools, there's a lot more time to both meet new minor characters and enjoy the ones we knew already. It helped to this with the semifinals, so there are only 2 battles to deal with. Seeing the development of all the teams involved and the various creative tactics everybody comes up with gave it such a fresh feeling. Every battle in the show is distinct and memorable, and these matches were as close and well fought as you would expect from the tournament semifinals. Everyone acquits themselves very well. While there isn't as much in the way of slice of life scenes this time around, I imagine we'll get a lot more of that in Part 5, that doesn't mean there aren't any fun character moments. In typical Girls and Panzer fashion, it makes excellent use of the time it has between the Ori Keizoku battle and the Koromori Mine St. Gloriana battle to let our characters just chill out and have a good time, while building some new friendships, as is the way with Senshiro. Also, given Koromori Mine's new approach to the sport, its members can now be much more expressive and receive more characterization during their screen time. They've really become such a fun group to watch. And of course we can't forget the newest members of St. Gloriana that we meet, 3 new Crusader commanders, who are all weird and crazy enough to keep up with Rosehip. And if you look a little closer at the full list of tanks during the fight, it showed that there were actually 5 Crusaders total, which means there's still 1 more that we haven't met yet. So that's something else to look forward to in Part 5 and 6. This episode also plays around with some expectations in fun, cute ways, particularly with Yoko's character, since in some ways, She was what we were kind of led to expect from her very brief moment in part 3. But here we learn that there's a whole other side to her, which makes her a much more interesting person. It also won't come as a surprise that there aren't really any major story revelations here or anything like that. I can only think of one relatively small one that I was expecting, but even if it was expected, it's still a spoiler, so I won't be saying any more about that. The story of Das finale was designed to be fairly simple and straightforward, after all. But beyond the surface level stuff, there is obviously progression and development throughout, and I'm not just talking about the tournament itself. As I mentioned above, we're treated to more organic growth of many of the members of Orai's team, and we also see Erika's transition to her own style of Senshido truly blossom here. You can almost forget how outwardly cold and only really expressive with negative emotions Erika was early in the series, with how she's become now. The theme of everyone's Senshido getting enhanced through their interactions with Orai is still running strong. And it goes beyond that, as we actively see the next generation, as it were, stepping up, with the leaders of the current generation actively paving the way and giving them the best possible chance at success. There are no personal egos getting in the way, or people worried about their prestige or position within the team. It's all yet another reminder of just how well things are written and planned in this series, and how consistent the themes of friendship and sportsmanship are. All the stepping stones to this point are there, but they're just not thrust right into your face. You don't need a big, bombastic, complex story for a show to have a quote-unquote good story or quote-unquote good characters. What matters is accomplishing what you set out to do, whether that goal is simple or complex. And Girls and Panzer fittingly always hits the target dead center, as you would expect from a show about tanks, while doing more than it necessarily needs to. This allows the attentive viewer to benefit the most, since, of course, they pick up on the subtleties that many might miss. All in all, Das Finale Part 4 was a wonderful experience that was well worth the wait, and one that I anticipate rewatching many times, perhaps even along with channel members at some point in the near future. I'm really not exaggerating when I say that during my first watch, my eyes were glued to the screen. There really wasn't a single dull moment throughout. Now, our watch begins as we await Part 5 2 years from now. I know I'll be here for that, and I hope you will be as well. If you enjoyed this video and like to support me and what I do here, my books and light novels are all available on Amazon. And you can get early access to videos, sneak peeks, and updates of my upcoming manga and other projects by subscribing over on Patreon. A couple of my books are also on sale for a bit longer over on Amazon, so check them out and grab them while they're cheap. I'll also be doing a Dream Tank match stream this Saturday, so see the community tab for the announcement and more details soon. I also expect soon to be announcing what I'll be doing for a member stream watch-along later this month. And as always, if you have any thoughts on this video or there's anything Girls and Panzer related, Das Finale 4 in particular, that you'd like me to talk about, definitely share them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear them, and while I might not get to respond to every comment, at least not in a timely manner, I can guarantee that I read each of them. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future uploads. That's all for now, so until next time.